Fantastic, thank you. All right, well, first off, thanks so much for coming to our sophomore night. This is part one of a two-part sophomore night. We're going to be talking a little bit about CTE to start. So this is essentially about the BOCES programs, the wonderful BOCES programs that we have available to students. We're really fortunate. Our BOCES programs are really strong, really good. We have a lot of students that are able to take advantage of them. And you might hear your student talk about Harkness, or they might say Harkness. They mean BOCES. They mean career and technical education. That's essentially what it means. The two terms are essentially interchangeable, but there are three BOCES centers. Harkness is the primary one that Clarence High School students end up attending. And there are two others, Kenton and Potter, and we're able to send students to those as well. But again, like I said, we're very excited to have Anna Fusco here. She is the CTE coordinator for all of BOCES, and she's going to give essentially a presentation on not necessarily every single BOCES program, but BOCES as a whole and what it has to offer. What I will say as far as how it works at Clarence, our students are able to attend Clarence High School for the first 4 periods of the day. They're able to attend their classes at Clarence, and then they're able to take a bus over to, whether it's Harkness, Kenton, Potter, whatever it might be, and then they spend the remainder of their day, periods 5 through 9, at the BOCES Center. And that's for their junior year. Then for the senior year, and again, most programs are 2-year programs. For their senior year, they're there before school in the morning, and then through first and second period, and then they're able to remain at Clarence. They could bus back to Clarence as well, or they could drive if they're driving at that point, but they would end up at the high school, Clarence High School, 4 periods, 3 until they end up released or dismissed, whatever comes first. So that's kind of how it relates to Clarence. I'll talk a little bit about the sign-up process a little bit later, but first I'm going to turn it over to Anna. Going to essentially see where we're going to go. All right here. And turn it over to her. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody, thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. My name is Anna Fusco. I am the CTE coordinator for Erie-One BOCES. I'm going to make this pretty short and sweet so that there's a lot of time to answer any questions you may have, and maybe talk about specific programs if that's something you're interested in, but this is kind of a general overview. It's definitely something that I go through with students as well, so that they have this information when they're thinking about how they want to spend their time in 11th and 12th grade, essentially, what they want to fill their schedule with. So away we go. So I know we mentioned we have 3 centers, Harkness, Kenton, and Potter. We've recently added CalSpan, which is our 4th center. It's essentially it's an offshoot of Harkness, as it were. So they're very close together. The CalSpan Center now houses our digital arts programs. So things like our web tech and game programming, digital media, and video production and recording arts programs. We're also introducing an esports management program there, as well as a social media marketing course that will all be at CalSpan. So CTE, just as an overview, stands for Career and Technical Education. In our world, we just refer to it as its little acronym there. But what CTE really is, what it offers students, is an opportunity to experience a bit of a different learning model than what they might be used to experiencing in a traditional high school setting. So what we do is half theoretical learning, your standard, assignments and things like that, things you learn from a textbook, the theoretical basis of what we do, and then we add a practical element. That's the other half of what we do. So it's hands-on and experiential learning, best illustrated by a few examples, of course. So our students in our building trades course, they are going to learn all the theory behind how to build a safe structure, what materials they should be using and when to use screws versus nail glue, the safety that goes along with all the power tools they'll be using, things like that. And then what they will do is take that knowledge, that they've hard-earned knowledge, and then they will go out into the parking lot and build a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home from the ground up. And when I say build it from the ground up, I don't mean we have like gingerbread pieces that we click together. They are building every piece. They're building the floor, the walls, they're putting on the roof, the siding, the windows, wiring the electric, everything, every piece of that house. It's then auctioned off, so someone will actually live in this home. It takes about 2 semi-trucks to get it off of our property, and they get to change someone's life that way, which is really, really awesome. They do it as a class, but they build a home from the ground up. Another example would be our aviation program. Those students are going to learn the physics of flight, how to chart a flight and navigate, how weather would impact that flight, things of that nature, the mechanics that go on inside of an airplane, and then they will go over to the airport and they will actually fly. They will learn to take off, fly, and land a small prop plane, but essentially on their own, obviously with an instructor with them for safety reasons, but they will actually fly a plane for a high school class. The reason I really draw out that illustration is so that we all understand just how amazing and rare these opportunities are. Some people are going to go their entire lives. Most people will go their entire lives never building their own home, never piloting a plane, and these are opportunities that your students can take advantage of in 11th and 12th grade through the BOCES programs. So essentially a little backstory, we have 19 component districts that make up our BOCES. All of your students at Clarence are component district students of Erie One BOCES. That simply means that they can come to these programs. And students here, I just want you to know that not every student in Western New York, your age, has these opportunities because they may not belong to a district that is a participant of Erie One. So our programs are really exclusive to all of you as component district students. We have over 25 different programs and we're continually growing. I mentioned some of the ones at CalSpan, but I also mentioned, aviation and building trades. We also have things like fashion design, where students will, in fact, become designers. They design a line of clothing and make it to measure for models that will then walk in our biggest event of the year, which is the Harkness Fashion Show. We have things like health careers, where students are learning basic nursing skills, and they will actually get hands-on experience working with patients, which, in my experience working in CTE, is the make or break moment if you really want to be a nurse, working with patients. And they get that experience all through us. There's a wide variety of programs. If you have an interest, we likely have a program that would support the exploration or the jumpstart of you pursuing that path. Okay? We see 2,400 students a year at Erie One BOCES in our CTE division. That makes us the biggest BOCES in New York State. There are 37 different BOCES, not counting the big 5 organizations like New York City and Buffalo, the big cities. And we are the biggest in the state. So we're able to really provide your students with some really fantastic opportunities that can be really rare and outstanding. The biggest piece about signing up for a CTE program is that our classes and our credits do work a little bit differently. Your students do get high school credit for attending our programs. They're not going to graduate late. They won't be set back. It fits into their schedule. The thing I do like to stress is that our classes are in fact 2 hours and 15 minutes of the day. So it's about half of the student's school day that they are with us. And oftentimes I'm asked, well, why are they so long compared to a standard class? For example, in cosmetology, if anyone here has ever gotten their hair colored or highlighted, if you left at the 40-minute mark, you would be sorely disappointed with the outcome of what you had left. So we really need that amount of time in the day to make sure that we are really practicing those skills to the fullest extent. And it ends up really being engaging for the students to be able to dive in and not have to start and stop, especially when it comes to things like wiring or building that house. That house will never get done in 40-minute increments. So we're really fortunate that our districts really support that schedule and allow us to really teach the students the ins and outs in that amount of time. Okay? The biggest piece is that it does have to fit into a student's schedule. So, staying on top of grades and making sure that we're meeting our graduation requirements is always going to be the first thing that we have to make sure that we're doing. You certainly don't have to be the valedictorian to attend a CTE program, but our primary goal is that everyone graduates high school first and foremost. So long as we're not having to catch up or double up on any classes to meet those grad requirements, it should fit into any student's schedule. So why are students going to be interested in taking a CTE program first? you get to focus on what you're interested in. I know that I do much better when I get to choose what I'm doing, or if I'm invested in something, I want to learn more about it, as opposed to feeling like I have to do something, right? I usually use the comparison going shopping versus cleaning my kitchen. I know this is a little bit different, but what we see with our students is they have a genuine and deep interest in a lot of the topics that they're focused on, and in turn, they really, really get invested in the work. It almost doesn't feel like learning at a certain point, not in the traditional sense at least. They do get grades, and a lot of our students that are really enjoying their time with us, they end up really, really becoming high achievers in this realm that is CTE. And it's great to see kids that might not love math or be into math really start understanding, oh, well, this measurement goes with this, and this measurement goes here, and that needs to be a 90-degree angle. Before they know it, all these applied skills are really starting to click for them. So we're really excited when kids come to us and they're like, no, I know that this is what I want to do. On the flip side, students can also have the littlest bit of an interest and take our programs. That certainly doesn't mean that they have to do that for the rest of their life, right? If someone wants to know how to fix their car, because they will someday soon be a car owner, they can absolutely take auto tech training, and I think that that's a fantastic skill to have. Certainly does not mean that they have to become a mechanic or work in an auto shop. So if a student has that interest, we're here to support that. Another piece is the new challenges that students come up against. Can be really, really exciting in a CTE center. Most of them come from the spaces that they're going to be occupying. Our classrooms don't look like traditional classrooms in a lot of senses. If you sign up for cosmetology, when you walk into that classroom, there is not a desk. There's not a desk in sight. You are walking into a salon, a professional space, with stations and mirrors and shampoo bowls and hydraulic chairs. Same with our automotive shop. There's 3 or 4 hydraulic lifts. The cars are going to go up, the kids take them apart, put them back together, really understand how everything works. We work really, really hard to make sure that the spaces that your students are learning in look like the industries that they're learning about. We have more traditional classrooms, like our health careers class. There's definitely going to be a little bit more studying in a book in that class when we're talking about health and safety for patients. But we also have a separate classroom for them that looks like a hospital. It's their nursing lab. So like I said, we do really work hard to make sure that these spaces look like the industries that they're learning about, and in that way, students can then walk into those spaces after high school if that's what they really want to do, and feel comfortable using those tools and occupying those spaces. And certainly last but not least is the collaborative mindset. Students really enjoy the idea of some autonomy a lot of times. Some students find that very, very intimidating. When you come to our centers, it's not just Clarence students. It's students from all across our 19 component districts, which is actually 24 high schools. So in some cases, your Clarence students will be in classrooms with Frontier students. But it really does kind of emulate a college model in the sense that they're picking a program, which is like choosing a major, and then they're coming to campus for class, which would be like going to Harkness or your CTE center. And every student in that room is going to have a common thread. They're going to have a common interest, maybe a similar goal. And it really is a great opportunity for students to meet like-minded students that they would not have necessarily ever met before. So we do see our students really becoming close-knit in their classes and making lifelong friends. Like I said, that might not have otherwise happened if they didn't come to a CTE center. So I mentioned the hands-on projects. I can talk about like the flashy fun stuff all day and the peers with common interests, but really it's the career and college-ready pieces. That's what CTE is striving to do. If you are a student that really does want to jumpstart their career, get that first opportunity right out of high school to build yourself up and maybe build your business or start on that career path, we're a fantastic place to start. You will leave from our doors with a resume, a cover letter, electronic portfolio of all of your work. We also practice interviewing skills with industry partners that come in. They very much support our programs and offer their time to work with our students so that they are prepared to secure that first opportunity. And on top of internship experience and business partnerships that really oftentimes turn into job offers for our students. So not only will they leave with all of that, But they really, really will have a strong understanding of that industry. And not only that, they'll have 2 years of experience under their belt at 17 or 18, compared to maybe someone also wanting to jumpstart their career at about the same timeline. So when we're looking at the job market, those students are going to be a heck of a lot more marketable and hire worthy when you think about the job market now. So we really, really strive to make sure our students are very well prepared for the industry that they may enter. If your students are more interested in pursuing a post-secondary path or a degree, our CTE programs help with that as well. All of our 2-year programs do have articulated college credit attached to them, so students can be earning college credits while they're in a CTE program, as well as all the exploratory pieces that come along with it. The other piece is, again, that 2 years of experience. So if a student really wants to be a nurse and they sign on the dotted line and go off to college, that first semester, that first year of school is going to feel probably less daunting to them to maybe someone learning this information for the first time. They'll have 2 years of medical terminology, anatomy, physiology. They'll have worked with patients before. So they'll have experiences that not everyone in that room is going to have had, and that really sets them up for success, especially with that transition into college. And that goes for every single one of our programs. Health Careers happens to be a very easy one to use as an example. But really what we're doing is trying to make sure that we're laying a strong foundation for every next step in the room, which is different for each and every student. So that's our goal. Mr. Rizzo kind of touched on this, but the school day would be kind of split in half for students. As juniors, you'd be with us in the afternoon, start your day here at Clarence. As seniors, it would be flipped around. Typically, from my vantage point, I haven't heard about the schedule affecting extracurriculars after school. However, if there are concerns about the timeline, I know there might be some hockey families here that do things before school. You can speak with your coaches or the director of the musical or your club advisors. This schedule has existed for quite a long time. These programs have existed for quite a long time. So they will probably have experience working with a CTE student's schedule before, but I would reach out to them directly so that they could answer any questions for you. Like I said, I was trying to keep it short and sweet, and I don't know if we have time now to open it for questions. Yeah? Okay, so if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions to the best of my ability. Yeah?
Is criminal justice available to the Clarence students?
Yes. Yes, criminal justice is one of our more popular programs, and that one is actually at 3 out of our 4 centers. Those students, if I may talk about criminal justice for a second, criminal justice, they have probably the most guest speakers out of any of our programs. They have the FBI coming in, the CIA coming in. They work with local police units. The students get to sweep the building. They see the canines, the canine units come in. They really have some very cool, cool experiences that you might not get unless you were doing criminal justice in college or something like that. They are focused more on law, law as a whole. They're going to talk about a bunch of different things. They might do some debate, but it really is, they're kind of looking at law enforcement and everything that comes along with that. But it's certainly not limited to that, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do have 2 other caveats that I usually share with students, kind of disclaimers. Number 1, if your student or you, if you are the student I'm speaking to, do not like animals, animal science might not be for you. We have students that sign up for every year, but there will be animals in your classroom each and every day. You'll be running a grooming clinic, you'll be working with animals, learning animal behavior. You'll also be studying all the different species that there are, mostly domestic, like pets and such, but you're studying to be basically a veterinary technician. So if animals aren't your thing, animal science might also not be your thing. And the other one is if you do not like children, early childhood education is not for you. You will be running a preschool a few days out of the week and actually working with 3-year-olds. If you are interested in becoming like a daycare professional or a kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade teacher, it's a really, really valuable experience. We have had some students that come into that and they say, I want to be a kindergarten teacher, and by the time they leave, they go, I'm going to teach high school. So it really is a fantastic opportunity for students across the board, not just with early childhood, but it is a fantastic opportunity for students to kind of stress test stress test what they think they may want for the rest of their lives. Without getting too personal, I definitely don't have a degree in the thing I went to college for the first time. But you know, had I had this opportunity, I probably would have found out really early that what I thought I wanted wasn't actually what it was going to pan out to be, and I could have saved myself some time and some student loan money. But I really champion these programs. I taught in a CT center as a Harkness and Potter teacher, and the things that these programs can do for students is really, really outstanding. So, again, any other questions? Yeah.
If students are wanting to change their program, how often are they able to do that? And they need to wait the entire year, or?
So this is probably more of a counselor-specific question. However, typically, if a student signs up for a program, if they're not interested in that program, probably within the first couple days, I would say couple days of being in a center with us, like they signed up for baking and pastry and they're like, oh, this isn't it. They need to let their counselor know immediately, and mainly because
the first couple days, and
if they don't change within the first couple days or so, mainly because then they need a schedule built for them here that's going to hit all their credits. And if classes are filling up, you're going to get limited opportunities. That being said, you know, we don't want students to necessarily be somewhere they don't want to be. However, if we wait longer than that and like we have grades and assignments coming in, now we're going to start messing with kind of like credits and where we're standing with those types of things. So making sure that you know, and I know that's hard to say because without like being there and seeing it, again, I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have. I have nowhere to be, and my husband's with my son, so I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to answer every question. Is there a program in particular you were kind of considering?
Well, no, that's the issue, is that because he's not certain, my concern is that he signs up for something, it's not for him, and he's sort of stuck there.
Absolutely. Sometimes, I don't want to speak for you guys, sometimes there are shadow opportunities where you can come see, check it out, but that would be, again, a more counselor-y based question. I don't want to speak on behalf of Clarence. So.
There is an opportunity a lot of times to change between programs. So if a student decides they don't want to be at BOCES anymore, that's fine. They will need to make that determination relatively early on. But if a student says, you know what, I really like this program, I don't like this program, but I think I might like this program, there are sometimes, depending on availability, the opportunity to change.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So, just to maybe piggyback on that, then, are there actual formal shadowing opportunities available for sophomores?
Because we don't have very long, right? Like, they have to decide in February.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, they can reach out to their counselor, students can reach out to their counselor, and like if they know they're 100% set on a program, I would say go with it. But if they're between a couple, reach out to the counselor and we'll see what we can do to get you over there to take a look. Because it is a huge, we understand it's a huge time commitment, it's a huge investment to make, to say I'm going to spend half my day for the next 2 years not even taking a look. So we do understand.
We're also trying to put together a field trip to Harkness. I'm optimistic, but we don't have any commitment yet, so we're hoping to do that, to be able to take kids over there and have them check out the programs. So hopefully positive information on that will be coming out relatively soon, but that's not set in stone.
I'm sorry if I'm speaking. So the other issue is, so they can only change the first few days. After that entire year, are they committed to that program for 2 solid years, or are they committed for 1 year and then the next year they're able to change and just commit?
1 year commitment.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions. Good questions.
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking.
Yeah, please.
So even after the first full semester, if they are kind of like, this isn't for me, leaving school half the day, could they then just do regular school electives? Or no, it has to be the full, it's a commitment for the whole school year?
You are committing for the full school year.
Okay.
There's also on the back of one of the sheets that all the sophomores got is a whole list of QR codes. Mrs. Fuller, that's one right here. Everyone should have that. If the student or you, you can just scan on it, and it takes you to the site, and they interview the instructor, and they interview a number of different students. So you can see, you can get a really good idea from these. If beyond that, absolutely, we'll get you some more information.
And if there are questions about, I don't like surprises. I'm not here to sell anyone anything. I'm not going to convince anyone to go to a program that's not going to benefit them in the long run. So if you have questions about a program and you want the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm going to tell you there's a lot of math, and I'll tell you that there's a lot of reading and writing. I'll tell you the fun stuff too, but I'm certainly not going to put any student or parent in a position where they have to make a decision that they're only 50% sure about. So again.
How are we able to get that information? Should we email you? Should we?
Yeah, that would be fine. We can talk after either way. Like I said, I can be here the whole time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. We did have some open houses that have passed, but we will have another one coming up in May. I understand our timeline isn't particularly conducive with that for the enrollment timeline. However, if it came push to shove and you had signed up for a program and you do come over in May, or you have a shadow opportunity, you're not yet committed to going, right? So there's still some wiggle room within the school year, for sure. Yeah.
How problematic is it getting a spot in one of the programs? Do each of the districts get like a certain amount of spots?
Sure. It's not typically problematic because we have 4 centers now, and we've actually just added that 4th center because we were seeing wait lists, essentially. And we recognize that this is an opportunity that is to be for everyone. Unfortunately, space is at a premium, and there are some programs that only exist at 1 center and have 1 class. So for example, aviation has 28 seats for 24 high schools. And there's unfortunately not much we can do to expand that at this point. That being said, we do not have specific set numbers because I find that would be inequitable across all of those high schools. But we do take a look at the requests coming in, and we try to make sure that the seats that can be given in the instances that we have to do that, which is not common, are reflective of the number of students that are asking to come into the program. So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, Clarence isn't the biggest district, it's not a Lancaster, we're never going to get seats. That's certainly not the case. But unfortunately, the bittersweet piece is that there is a limit on space because of our size. Most of our programs do not run with a wait list for sure. On top of that, there is shifting that happens at the end of this school year and into next school year. So being on a wait list isn't like a kiss of death, right? It doesn't mean no, it means we're waiting to see. So unfortunately, some programs do have that, but most of ours, it's not hard to get into. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Just to tie off of that, it's not merit based, it's first come, first served.
On our end, no, correct, yes, it's equal opportunity. But there may be, some attendance implications and things like that when we're talking about a student that needs to make sure they're meeting their grad requirements, things of that nature. That would be more of a Clarence question. But outside of that, on our end, we're not looking at any of those things. We get the name. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'm curious if a student was interested in something like interior design.
Sure.
If fashion design would be a good way to go.
Very, very common question. Again, I'm not here to sell anyone anything. Probably not. If that student is really interested in, is it you? I'm assuming the one sitting next to you. If you're really, really interested in learning how to sew and learning those basic skills, understanding textiles, understanding that industry, that's fantastic. Those skills are going to totally be transferable. You're going to talk about color theory. You're going to talk about all of those things. You will not be applying it to paint or room design or making curtains. You will be making garments, clothing. Now, if that still sounds interesting to you, those are absolutely transferable skills that would definitely work for where you're going. But if you're really set on interior design specifically, and you want to be looking at upholstering, picking out color palettes for walls, things like that, then I fear you may be bored. So just as an awareness, there's give and take there when we're talking about interior design and fashion. Yeah. But it is clothing based.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any of the specific programs I'm happy to answer about. Okay. Oh, yeah.
If we're interested in the new business program for senior year, does it make sense to do something junior year as well? Like if we're looking at medical?
Sure, I'm really glad you asked that. So we do have New Visions and Tech Prep programs. Those are for senior students. There is an application and an interview to get into those programs. They're more competitive, more rigorous. They are 3 hours a day. And there is a catch. You do have to provide your own, students have to provide their own transportation because the programs are not in a school. So the one you're asking about is our Connections Health-Related Careers program. Those students are actually in a hospital. Their classroom is in a hospital, so they are shadowing different practitioners, sitting in on procedures, being able to see how people interact with patients, and what it really looks like to be in healthcare. That's one of our 6 programs. I'm happy to run through all 6, but for Connections, you do not need to be a CTE student to take a New Visions program. So if Health Careers isn't going to fit into your schedule this year, that's totally okay. You can still apply as a junior. So you'd apply in your junior year next year, end of next year. So you don't need to do a CTE program. You can though. So if you were interested in taking Health Careers, it's the same process. You would still apply in your junior year. If you did happen to get into the Health Careers program, you would simply switch over because it's still in that CTE vein. So that would be possible. That would totally be possible. But again, you do not need to be a CTE student. So you don't have, there's no prerequisite or anything. The other ones are our diesel technology program at Conway Beam, students learning to be diesel technicians, and actually having their own bay in a huge brand new shop. We have zoo, wildlife, and conservation careers where students report to the Buffalo Zoo each and every day, working with the groundskeepers. We have a brand new one called Plant Science, where students will be at the Buffalo Botanical Gardens each day, working in the learning in the greenhouses. We have our Legal Academy at Canisius University, where students will actually be able to shadow within the court system, sit in on court proceedings, and shadow lawyers at different law firms in the area. Education Pathways, I think that might be the last one. Education Pathways is at Buffalo State University for any students that want to be teachers. That's all K through 12 learning or any school personnel, like a school counselor or administrator. Those students also have the opportunity to earn 17 SUNY college credits at a discounted rate in a single year. So they would graduate high school with over a semester of college complete from the School of Education at Buffalo. So happy to talk about those two. I just kind of glazed over them, but I think it might be time to turn it back over. And I will stay if you have any questions. I'll just be over there. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and hope to see your students in the center. Thank you.
Thanks to Anna. I think you'll agree she does a great job championing the BOCES programs that are available. I'm going to talk very quickly about the BOCES sign-up process. So on our end, at Clarence, as she alluded to, we get essentially a certain amount of slots that are allotted based on how many kids sign up across the area and the size of our relative size of our district. Last year, I'll say we had about 75 students who signed up, and all but maybe, I want to say like 4, eventually ended up in their first choice program. So the odds are pretty good that students are going to end up in their first choice program, but sometimes there are wait lists for certain specific programs. I'll say electrical systems and welding are the 2 that are probably most popular where there is a space consideration. So those are the 2 programs that you absolutely want to make sure that you sign up as soon as possible. Now, the way to sign up, if you received the notifications that we sent home, we did include some instructions on that, but we are opening up a Google form to students on Thursday evening, February 1st at 7 o'clock. That's when the form is going to open up. And parents, if you wanted to sort of maybe help your student out, that would be great. However, you cannot do it for them unless you are using their actual Clarence Schools account. And the form must be filled out using a Clarence Schools account. And once you open up the form, it's name, first choice program, second choice program, and click a box that says that you understand that this doesn't guarantee entry into the program. That's it. My strong recommendation is that whatever program you're interested in, do the form right at 7 o'clock when it opens up. However, for most of the programs, it's not going to be a problem, all right? You should be able to get hopefully your first choice, but there are a couple that do end up with a wait list. If there is a wait list, we will let you know. We'll contact you once we know what the list looks like, okay? I believe that's about it. We're going to take about maybe 5-7 minutes for almost like an intermission, and then we'll get started with part 2 of our program that just kind of addresses global sophomore needs and where you guys should be at. So thanks very much.
Talk to you, find out what your expectations are. If they've taken a certain class since the 3rd grade and they absolutely hate it and they want to drop it, but you're like, absolutely not, you've devoted all this time to this and we're going to see this through until the end of high school, that expectation needs to be set up front before we make their schedule. It's a good idea to talk to anybody older, siblings, teammates, ask them about the classes that they're taking. How are they doing in that class? How much time do they spend on that class? How much homework do they have? Just kind of try to get a sense. Remembering that everybody's different. So if the assignments are typically read 50 pages a night, for one kid that could take 3 hours, and for another kid that could take half an hour. That's a big difference. So kind of take some of that information with a grain of salt. But I really think it's important to talk to teachers. I think sometimes that gets overlooked, which seems kind of crazy because they're with that person every single day and they're teaching that material. So for example, if you're in English 10 and you're thinking about taking AP Lang, but you're not entirely sure if that's a good idea, if you can handle it, the teacher knows the patterns of your work habits. Do you do your homework consistently? Do you read the book when they ask you to? How do you do on tests? How do you do when you face adversity in that class? Do you shut down? Do you self-advocate? Do you go looking for extra help before school, after school? Do you do everything you can do to make sure you're successful in that class? All of that is going to make a huge difference as to whether or not you're going to be successful in a higher level of that same class. So that's something, definitely to look into. The teachers also know what's coming next, so they'll be able to give, your student a better perspective before they select the course. Okay, so I said 12 periods, but we really only have 9. We have 9 periods in a day. So when you're mapping out the classes, you have to look to see if the class is a full year. If it's a half year, you have to factor in lunch. If you want a study hall. We are encouraging kids to have at least 1 period of lunch or study hall. I like kids to eat, but it's nice for kids to have a break. 9 periods straight through bell to bell is a really long day. But also, we have a lot of opportunity for help if a student is struggling. So we have math tutoring every single period of the day. We have the Learning Assistance Center. We have labs. We have many different things that we can offer, but you can't take advantage of that if you have 9 periods of classes. So that's, something else to think about. You might need a lunch and a study hall, and that's okay. We can talk to you about that as we're going along. So we've already started, like I said, scheduling, and it's not a problem if we scheduled with your student today or if we get to them in 3 weeks. Nothing except for Harkness, which if you were here for that program, is first come, first serve. So what we're doing right now is we're just gathering information. So you're not really selecting courses, you're requesting courses. We count those as a request right now. We're gathering all the information, we give that to our administration. They start counting up how many students want each course, how many sections, and then that helps us build our master schedule. That's a long process. We don't even really fully dive into that until July, and then schedules come out at the end of August. So right now we're just gathering all of the information. So if we haven't gotten to you yet, or if you missed your appointment for some reason, we can reschedule and it's not a problem. If you change your mind on something and in 2 months you want to change an elective, that's no problem. You're not going to miss out on something because you've made a change later. For electives, availability of that elective is based on enrollment. So if you're wavering on an elective and you're not really sure, I would say select it, let us know that you want to take it, and then you can change your mind later, because if you're like, well, I think I'm going to do it and I'll just pick it in a couple months, it might not be available because there weren't enough kids who signed up to take it. So if you have questions on that, you can talk to your counselor. Let's see. Okay, so we cannot do teacher requests as much as we would want to. We have over 1,300 kids in our building. We cannot do it for everybody, so in order to be fair, we don't do it for anybody, which I know can be difficult to hear, but it's just not something we can accommodate. Schedules are released in August, like I said, at the end of August. So we will be in touch if there are any conflicts for your schedule. If you selected 2 classes that run at the same time, or there's just, another type of conflict that might be going on, we will be in touch with you. We'll let you know over the summer, and then we'll have a conversation about picking something else. So if you don't hear from us, that's a good thing. That means your schedule worked out. So after you do all of this research, all of this preparation, there's still a chance come September, you get into a class and you're like, nope, this is not for me, something changed with me, or my interests are changed and I just don't want to do this anymore. We do have drop add with some parameters. So if you're taking a half year class, you can drop the class, no questions asked, within the first 5 weeks. So you have 5 weeks to do that. For a full year class, you double that, it's 10 weeks. But if you come to us in the 10th week and you want to drop that class, a full year class, we cannot put you in a full year class because you've missed the first 10 weeks. So you have to kind of keep that in mind, that if you drop a full year class, we may be able to fit in an elective second semester if there's something offered that you want to take, but chances are you might be in a study hall. If you know within the first day or two, first 2-3 days, and you're like, no, this might not work, we could probably have some flexibility there, but after that, it gets increasingly difficult for you to go into a class where you're already behind. And whatever grade you have in that class goes with you. So you don't get a fresh start, you still have to work your way up from the grade that you had initially. So how it works is the English classes come down to guidance, and then each counselor will take their student that they have in that class individually into their office, and then hopefully they'll have this with them with a little bit of information circled, any questions written down, and then we will just go from there. So that's it. Pretty easy, straightforward, I think. So who's next? Mrs. Schaefer or you? Sorry, you don't know. I should know. Oh, there's the chart.
Sorry, that's my fault. I should have had that up there earlier. That's that slide. All right, so that's the chart. However, that is on our website. Most of the scheduling information we do have posted on the scheduling portion of the high school guidance website. So that is all there. All right, now I'm going to get into trying to maximize the rest of the high school experience. So as I mentioned before, sophomores have more than half of your high school career still in front of you. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about academics and then non-academics. So first I'm going to start out talking about the academics. So yes, more than half of high school is still in front of you, except your GPA. GPA is not more than halfway. GPA is pretty much exactly halfway done as of right now. Now you might say, like, what is he even talking about? What is a GPA? What does it even mean? Well, the GPA is your grade point average. That's the overall average of all of your courses kind of together. And essentially, the GPA is determined at the end of your junior year. Now, colleges, employers, whatever, they're absolutely going to see the GPA, or excuse me, they're going to see your first quarter, maybe even your second quarter grades from your senior year. So that is important. You can't tank senior year. Don't think I'm suggesting that. However, grades are determined, a GPA is determined by completed coursework. So the last time that you're going to be completing courses is at the end of your junior year. So if we think freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, well, we're in the middle of that middle. That means your GPA is determined halfway determined right now. And is that a big deal? Not a big deal? I'm not necessarily trying to get students to panic about it, but more, I want you to be reflective. Think, are you satisfied with what you've done throughout the first, say, year and a half of your time in high school? We understand that freshmen are still getting acclimated to high school, and maybe they got the friend thing down, but the academic thing didn't really work out. They were still figuring it out. That's okay. We understand that you are still imperfect, unfinished products as far as students. we want you to essentially make strides along the way. But as of right now, I want you to just essentially be reflective and think, am I pleased with the work that I've done? And is this what I want to do moving forward? Some of you might say, yeah, absolutely, good job for you, keep it rolling. But for those who aren't, just know that, all right, you're about halfway through all of this, okay? And now, I guess, then I would say, how important are grades? Well, you know, that's kind of a subjective measure, I guess. For some people, grades could be the be-all, end-all. That's how they define themselves. Okay, fine. I'm not here to tell you that's not what you should do, all right? But what I do want to tell you is that students, I think, are a lot more than their grades. And I'm not going to step on Mrs. Schaefer's toes because she's going to talk a little bit about colleges, but the vast majority of colleges accept the vast majority of students. So I'm not talking about the Harvards and Yales of the world, but the vast majority of colleges accept the vast majority of students. So if your student, or you as the student, comes in, does a good job, and gets solid grades, you're going to have lots and lots of opportunities ahead of you. You're going to have lots and lots of college opportunities. What I would say is start to focus on preparedness. And grades and preparedness might be two different things. All right, when I say preparedness, are you prepared for whatever it is that you're going to be doing after high school, whether that is going into college, whether it is going on to, say, trade school, like we talked about earlier with some of the CTE programs, or going right into a career because of the CTE program? Are you going to be prepared for whatever that is? And what does preparedness look like, okay? And again, this is kind of sliding scale. Everybody's at different points on that, but do you know how to be a successful student? Like I said, freshman, maybe not, as far as how to be a successful student. But and essentially what I'm getting at is, do you know how to kind of put it all together? All right, you might be able to just sit through a lecture in your class and end up spitting out 100 on a test. Great, good for you. All right, that's pretty awesome. But not everybody's going to be able to do that. But even that 100 student, all right, are you able to read a textbook and then extract information from that textbook and then synthesize an argument in an essay? Are you able to do some of those things without having to consult ChatGPT? And I'm not talking about like plagiarism. I'm talking about even just like getting like Cliff Note type things from the textbook. All right, are you able to manage your time real well? All right, and that's something that everybody is going to have to manage throughout their lifetime. Are you able to short-term plan? Like, okay, I have this test on Tuesday, I've got this due larger project on Thursday, and I've got 3 practices over the next couple of days. How do I need to budget my time? Are you able to do that? What about larger projects that might take, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that? Are you able to break them into smaller chunks? Are you able to well, some students might say, oh, I got this project, I need to get it done immediately, and spend 12 hours working on the project and turn it in 3 weeks earlier. I know that's probably 0.5% of the students. I understand, all right? But if you do that, that's probably not all that healthy, all right? Most of you probably fall into the camp of, this project is due in 12 hours and I haven't done anything, and it's 11:59 and it's due at midnight, and that's when you're hitting submit. Also probably not good. You could say, oh, I work better under pressure. To me, that's usually a cop-out for procrastination, okay? All right, so is that a skill that you've learned? How to budget your time, how to chop up your work so that you're able to kind of get it done effectively over time, okay? Essentially, are you able to find balance as you're going through all this? Also, your mental health needs. Are you able to balance all of that? And I'm not necessarily even talking about, say, an anxiety disorder that might need medical attention through a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist, what have you. I'm talking about just the general normal stuff, anxiety, stress. Everybody's going to feel that. All right, that's a part of life, okay? Stress a lot of times just means that you care about this thing that is in front of you, okay? So learning how to manage stress and anxiety is a critical thing that you are going to need not only in high school, not only in college, but literally for the rest of your life. It's something that you have to figure out. And for some students, it might be, all right, I'm a little overwhelmed right now. I need to say, all right, I've got to do X, Y, and Z and sort of just get through it so that I'm going to feel that weight lifted off my shoulders. That might be appropriate for that student in that moment. Or maybe you need to know, I gotta walk away from this. I literally have to go for a walk for 20 minutes. All right, understanding what you need to do so that you can manage yourself, so that you can be fully functional. Like all those are things that I think are important along the way. Going along with that, how do you manage a difficult course? All right, you're most likely going to encounter a very challenging course. If you have not, by the time you graduate from Clarence High School, I'd be a little bit surprised and maybe a little impressed. I don't know, that means you probably are pretty bright, but if you do encounter the class that, metaphorically punches you in the face, I would say it's kind of a blessing in disguise. And the reason why I say that is because you will encounter something very tough. Whether you go to college, whether you don't, you will encounter a very difficult challenge in the workplace or in college. And knowing how to work through something that is difficult, all right? Like, hey, I've always done my work and I've always gotten that 97 in the class, but now I'm doing my work and I'm even working a little bit harder, but I got, gasp, an 87, all right? Like, that's okay. It's all right. The sky is not falling. The world is not going to end. It will continue to turn tomorrow. However, you need to understand, what do I need to do to work through this? Do I need to try a different approach? Do I need to see the teacher and need to talk to the teacher? Do I need, what is it that you need to do? And I guarantee you that if you're able to work through it, the next time you encounter something like that, say it's college or whatever, you're going to have the confidence, all right? That's what we want, is we want you to build some resilience so that when you are encountered with when you do encounter the difficult thing, whatever the difficult thing is, you're more prepared, you're better prepared for it. So those are some of the things that I want you to kind of think about as you look at these next 2.5 years. The other, another thing I'd say is like communication. Communication is really important, meaning how are you communicating with say your teachers, the professionals that are around you? Is it professional communication or informal communication? All right, so that just means like sending a Schoology message that is like a text. All right, or a snap, whatever it might be. Like that might not be the best way to communicate. Learning some of those things along the way, thinking, am I communicating clearly with the person? Because when you are emailing a professor at the college level, they're probably going to take it a little bit differently if you don't, address them properly, give a coherent statement, and then maybe use your name to sign off. Like these might sound like real little things, and they kind of are, but over the course of the next 2.5 years, these are some of the things that, in addition to all the good school stuff that's there, I think would be important for you to kind of think about, all right? How do I develop some skills? How do I develop preparedness so that when I do get into the next phase of life, whatever that is, I'm ready for it, okay? All right, so all of that is the academic side of things. Then the non-academic side of things, just to kind of touch briefly on, you are only in high school one time. That's it. That's it. One time, and we want you to enjoy it. So no disrespect to, junior year math class, if you're talking to, say, your parents, no respect to their junior year math class, but do they remember anything that they did in their junior year math class? Probably not. Probably not. All right? Now, that doesn't mean that wasn't an important class that set up an academic foundation for them for later on. So don't twist my words to your math teacher tomorrow, okay? But seriously, please don't be very angry. But what do they remember? They remember the times with their friends. They remember the large events, maybe going to most, and again, this isn't every single parent, but most are going to say these things. They remember maybe some of the sporting events that they went to. They remember pep rallies. They remember the times with their friends. Those things are important. So make sure that you are developing, nurturing your friendships. It should not be all about academics. You should make sure that you're taking time to enjoy yourselves and essentially try to get involved as much as you can. I know that you probably heard that a lot, but follow your interests wherever they go, all right? You don't need to think that you need to put on some grand resume display for a college. Now, that doesn't mean that you should sit idly by and play Fortnite for 4 hours a day, or just all you do is hang out on your Discord server. Like, no, that's probably not ideal either, okay? But you want to be purposeful with the time that you have, but it doesn't necessarily need to be structured and on point and everything is planned out because I've got to have this grand college plan, okay? if you do that, I worry that you're gonna end up with regret and look back and say, you know what, maybe I could have done some things differently, because in the end, did some of that matter? Probably not. Again, I'm saying, we want you to be involved, we want you to do things, we want you to be purposeful with what you're doing, but essentially, take your interests and follow them, and just try to enjoy yourselves while you're here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really, really wanted to hit on. I was just about done. I would encourage you, though, if you are planning on going to college, if you could maybe go on a visit either this summer or maybe in the spring, something like that, that can really be helpful. Use our local schools here as a proxy. UB, big school, big public school. You don't have to travel hours and hours, but go get on a college campus if you're thinking about college, because it's going to help you. And now I think I'm stepping on Mrs. Shader's toes. Yeah, sorry. I'll politely back off. All right. Summer, the next 2 summers, maybe do some internships, maybe get a job, whatever it is. Try and use the time, but it doesn't have to be nailed down to the minute of, purposeful, essentially. Okay. I think that's about it, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Schaefer.
Hello, I'm Christy Schaefer, and I thought I'd start out by just demystifying the process. Nobody is behind. Nobody has the information that you don't have. Everyone is in the same position. Nobody's gone through this unless you have older siblings or older children in the home. And the college application process and the whole exploration process, it's designed for people who have never seen it before. It's a little scary at first because it's new. And that's how it is with anything that's new. It's that good stress. It's not bad stress, it's just stressful, a little bit new. So I just wanted to start out by saying that this is just to let you know what a timeline would be over the next couple of years for you. I'm not saying you should be doing any of this yet. It's just to kind of let you know what you don't know, maybe. So for college, if you're planning on college after high school, or if it's even on the table as an option, maybe you're not sure. Maybe you're going to go right into the workforce. And that's awesome. You can have both of them on the table. We just want to make sure that they're both options when you get to the point where you have to make a decision. So there's 2-year schools and there's 4-year schools. 2-year schools are crazy, wonderful options. The price is right. You don't need SATs or ACTs. You don't need letters of recommendation. It's a very simple application process. You could maybe live at home, save some money. You don't have to go to a 2-year school for all 2 years. You can and get your associate's degree and then go out into the workforce. Or you can transfer to a 4-year school. So you would apply to that 4-year school right from the 2-year school. But you don't have to finish the 2 years. You could do a year. You could do 3 semesters. You could do 1 semester. And that's okay. You can always shift over if you want to. So what I'll be talking mostly about is the application to a 4-year school and the process of finding that school. So I think one of the best things to do is to look at college websites. Just get on there and start poking around. We do it on Amazon. We do it on all kinds of stuff that, just spend 20 minutes and you'll be surprised. You'll get to 20 minutes and then you'll realize, oh, I can kind of go longer. And if you're doing it after 20 minutes, that's fine, stop. Decide to do it maybe once a week, just to start feeling like, okay, I can do this. This is for me, actually. So get on and look at those college websites. I think it's important to go right to the source. That is the source of all the information for that school. Now there's amazing tools out there like Naviance, College Board. There's a lot of really good search tools that take the thousands of schools that we have in this country and shrink the list down to ones that you might want to focus in on. And quick ways of doing that, and we talked to our sophomores about it during their class presentations just a couple weeks ago, is to put in things like location, major, the size of school, the setting, that's huge. Do you want to be in the middle of Manhattan? Do you want to be in the middle of the woods or the fields in St. Bonaventure, you know? So finding those kinds of things will help you trim that list down. But like Mr. Rizzo said, we have a really high concentration of colleges in this area. There's a whole website dedicated to just schools in Western New York. I think there's 21 schools. And it can be a really nice, non-threatening way to start kind of looking around and seeing what looks interesting and that you can like start to learn how to do this. You know, the older you get, the further you go on in school, the more information you're going to have about yourself that's going to help you find the best match. So whether it's a specific sport that you're interested in, or if there's a club that you want to make sure a college has, one of the big pieces is your GPA. Now that's not done yet, we just talked about that, but it is a good guide to figure out where are you going to learn well. We don't want to see this application process turn out to be like a competition. You know, you can apply to a lot of really hard schools, meaning difficult to get into, super selective, and then you might get in, and then, oh my gosh, you might have to go. Like, I can't imagine. Like, you get in and it's exciting and you talk about it at Thanksgiving or whatever, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, what am I doing? So you want to find a good match. You don't want to be in a class where you're at the bottom, kind of hanging on by your fingernails. You also don't want to be in a class where you're like, oh gosh, I already kind of know all of this, and you know, no offense, but I think I need to. So, you know, find the right match for you. And I think that's the biggest secret. And there's a lot of ways to do that, and that's what all this is about. I think it's really important to look at an application. They aren't like going to explode. They're not booby-trapped. You can even create an account. Pretend that you're a senior and apply. There's no way that you can hit a button and pay the application fee by mistake. So there's no risk. Get in there, set up an account, see what it's going to look like. It's going to give you that outline, and you're going to start to see the kinds of things that you're going to have to provide on that, and they're very similar from school to school. So once you get the general idea, I think that can bring the stress down a little bit too. Look at NCAA. If you're interested in a Division I or II sport, I know some of these phrases are new. It's okay. It's all right. Just go on and take a look. See what it says. All the stuff is on our website too. So if you're thinking of that, just poke around. We got time. It's not a problem, but take a look. That phrase, hindsight is 20/20. I think hindsight is on your side right now. I think there's a lot of things that you can be doing and thinking about as you get ready for this process. Because as you're searching for schools and exploring schools and visiting schools, you're also going to be preparing for the application process. And one doesn't have to happen before the other. I have some students who won't start, you know, they think, not after I'm done talking to them, but when we start out, they think you have to decide on the schools you're applying to before you actually start the application process, which sounds kind of funny. You think, well, yeah, that makes sense. But there are so many similarities that if you prepare all the pieces and parts, then it's just a matter of plugging them in where they're required on each school's application. So I think one of those examples is like a letter of recommendation. You're going to likely need at least one letter of recommendation. It should probably be from somebody who sees you in an academic setting. You are in those positions now. You have this year and next year, because you're going to be asking for these letters that are going to be submitted in the fall of your senior year. So connect with your teachers. A lot of you do. That's just who you are. But kind of tuck in the back of your head, this teacher's going to be writing a letter, maybe, about how I engage, how I react to setbacks. What happens when I get that red pen after I've always gotten an A? You know, how do I see the world? You know? So just kind of, I know those are like big, giant questions, but just kind of tuck them away in the back of your head, because you're going to be asking these people to write about, what they think about you and how you see the world. Another thing that I think the hindsight can be really helpful with is the essay. Most college four-year applications are going to require an essay, and you have topics you have to abide by, but usually you can wiggle what you want to write about into one of the prompts. But you're going to be writing the essay probably the summer after your junior year. And so you've got some time. Some people think they have to have had something devastating happen to them in order to write a good essay. And that's not it. They don't want to hear horrible things. Those, they are absolutely woven into who you are if you had those experiences, and it's okay to write about them. But you don't have to have those experiences to stand out. They want to see what you think, how you see the world. And it can come across in the smallest little of exchange, or it can be an experience, or it can be something that you have done to stretch yourself beyond your comfort. Don't put yourself we don't want you to snap, don't break, but stretch a little bit. Take that risk, and if you do it now, you'll have something to write about. Instead of coming home over the summer after your junior year and saying, let's see, what did I do? I mean, if you, and I think it's kind of a cool way to live too, is, I'm gonna go do something to write about. I think I might do that. So think about that as you're making your way through. Testing is another part of this whole process. Most schools are test optional since COVID. So the scores are becoming less and less. I think almost all of them are test optional. But I do think it can still be really valuable to have that test score on hand. And so that is something that you would take care of as a junior. You would do the PSAT in the fall, and then in the spring you would do the SAT or the ACT or both. I always suggest both. I think you don't know which one you're going to show better on until you've tried them. And then have all that buttoned up by the end of your junior year. Can you retest as a senior? Absolutely. But those scores then are coming back just as your applications are going to go out. Well, not for regular decision, but for early action. And I know early action's not necessary, but I really would feel better if I got it out. And I'm, so you don't want to have to start with all the complicated decisions. If you have all your testing buttoned up, that's done. That part of the menu has been filled in. You've got your letters of recommendation wound up. You've got your essay planned out. You've got your testing. Then we just kind of plug it in where it needs to go. Typically, applications you'll want to get those in, well, certainly by the deadlines that you're looking at. There's early action, early decision, early notification. There's early decision 2. We'll talk all about that later. But generally speaking, you'll want them out by Thanksgiving. If not by Thanksgiving, definitely by winter break. Those are good self-imposed deadlines. Financial aid is kind of backwards. You think, well, first I've got to find the money and then I can go to school. Actually, not true. You find your school, and then most of the money you get is going to come from the school that you attend. There are other sources, of course, but that is typically that's what our seniors are working on now and have been for a couple of weeks. So financial aid is very important, and in the application process, you're going to be tending to a lot of that already. So that's not something you have to worry about for quite some time. So we don't just say best wishes, we'll see you fall of senior year. We have so we did our classes, right, a couple weeks ago, and then we're going to be meeting with the I'm off. Sophomores, you are sophomores. So juniors, we go into the classes before the winter break. And usually that's when PSATs have just come back. We talk about how to register for testing. We talk about what's coming next. And then in the spring, we'll be meeting with our juniors again and individually. I call it my junior jump start just because it's fun to say. But we just talk about what you can be doing between the spring and the fall of your senior year to get ready for that process. Then in the senior year, we go in and do class presentations in the fall right away. A little bit on the exploration, much heavier on the application part. And then we meet individually until you're ready, you're done, you're off and ready to go. So we do have a lot of scaffolding in place for you, but that's kind of a general idea to help you feel like, okay, all right, this is good. I know what I'm doing here. Are there any questions that anyone could think of? Great. What are we doing next?
That's really it. So we've just got our email addresses up there. Again, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you for coming to the program tonight, and we wish sophomores good luck over the next 2.5 years. We're excited to work with you, and have a great night, everybody.